made my Hard As You Want course to share the 45 different causes of erectile dysfunction that are hardly ever discussed in the media or in doctors' offices. And I was surprised by the number of comments that were left by men who were shocked to realize that this was the reason they weren't getting hard, and how simple it was for them to get over it once they knew. So in this video, I'll say what that is and why it prevents you from getting and staying hard, plus what to do about it. And stay tuned, because no matter how hard you get, the vast majority of men struggle with this. And by this, I mean the fear of rejection. Whether you're conscious of it or whether it's lying beneath the surface of your awareness, the fear of rejection has a massive impact on how well men do when it comes to sex and relationships. And it has a huge impact on their ability to get and sustain erections. I mean, think about it. Sex is vulnerable. Even if it's casual, even if it's a one-night stand, many of us fear that we're gonna be judged by the person we're sleeping with. And this is especially true for men, because in order for you to get up and get inside of someone's body, you have to face a lot of potential rejection, right? I mean, usually men are the people who have to make the first move. They have to initiate physical touch, initiate sex, invite her back to your place, create an environment, and there's a lot of opportunities there to get rejected and to be told no. Naturally, it's sort of built into it for men. But add the fact that your penis is literally going to enter someone else's body. If you're overwhelmed by the fear of rejection, your soldier is not going to stand at full attention and get in there and do what you want to get done. Fear of rejection in relation to your sexual performance, like not being enough, not lasting long enough, going soft, not having enough experience, or emotional vulnerability, like being exposed to another person, having your heart and your emotions exposed to them. Sex brings up a lot of fears around whether or not we are worthy and going to be accepted. And if your dick isn't sure he's going to be accepted, he just might not show up for the party at all. Let's start with 3 simple but surprising facts about this nearly universal fear. Number 1, rejection occurs in long-term relationships. When most people hear the word rejection, the first thought that comes to them is asking a woman out only to receive a no from her as the answer. But the truth is, it's common, even and potentially especially in long-term committed relationships. I had a client who was struggling with his performance in the bedroom. He had been married for several years, but found that he wasn't able to get it up like he used to. Upon some digging, we found that his wife had a habit of being downright rude and dismissive of his thoughts and ideas. Every time he tried to connect with her, share about his day at work, or an idea of what they could do next weekend, even just a suggestion for something they could grab for dinner, he was met with a lack of interest and often completely shut down. Over time, he learned to associate his wife with that feeling of rejection. And whether it's a joke, an idea, a sexual advance, our bodies process it the same. So when it came down to their sex life, he stopped being able to get hard. Our sex lives are deeply connected to the rest of our lives. And if you are getting met with rejection in any area of your life, it is totally possible that the fear will bleed over into the bedroom. Number 2, your fear of rejection is evolutionary. It is so important to understand that pretty much every single person has the same fear of rejection. And this goes back to our cave-dwelling ancestors. Before the norm was the nuclear family unit, we used to live in communities that worked together to stay safe. We relied on each other to stay sheltered, fed, and avoid getting eaten by one saber-toothed animal or another. No one can make it on their own in a tribal society. No one has ever been able to make it on their own truly realistically, even though today you can certainly live in isolation and survive off of delivery pizza. But because of where we come from, being rejected from a community was literally a life or death experience. I mean, being excommunicated was being sent to your death. So yeah, it makes sense that as we've continued to evolve, this deep subconscious desire to be accepted by others has stayed with us. This in particular is important to remember, because if your fear of rejection is stopping you from putting yourself out there, or if it's stopping you from performing in bed, you are not alone. Although we're all struggling with the fear of rejection in one way or another, it shows up differently and in varying degrees from person to person. And this brings me to my last point before we start getting into the solutions. Number 3, Your relationship to rejection started in childhood. The way that you were raised, the experiences that you had growing up can often determine how you face the world as an adult. At the end of the day, we're all just delicate little flowers. And some of us were lucky enough to be given fertile soil, lots of sunlight, water, but others had to make it work in a desert of affection. My client that I was mentioning earlier grew up with a mother who was very critical of him. Not to get super Freudian, but nothing he did was ever good enough for her, and these patterns repeated in all of his romantic relationships as he got older. He realized that he never stood up to his wife's dismissiveness, and that's because he was used to it from an early age. It was only when he identified the issue that he could change this dynamic for good. Again, the first step to overcoming anything, including your fear of rejection, is to get an understanding of what it is you're up against. Looking into your past can be a great way to understand where these feelings come from, and it can help you identify that you are not to blame. It's just something that you have to work through. In fact, I would highly recommend being nice to yourself, because you are at risk of actually rejecting yourself over your own fear of rejection, and that's no good. So you've identified that you have a fear of rejection. Welcome to the club called the human race. But now what? Let's talk about some solutions. Number one, self-awareness. Like I said, the first step is identifying the problem. If you subscribe to this channel, you will recognize this as a common thread. It is truly important to examine your fears. Take a look at your past experiences and consider how they might be affecting your current situation. And also get clear on what it is that you're actually afraid of. Like, what do you associate rejection with? If you get rejected, you won't be able to look your friends in the eyes again. You think you're gonna get kicked out of your social network. You think you'll be labeled as a predator. Like, really, what is it that you are afraid of? And what is it that you think that rejection will say about you? How does it feel for you when it actually happened in the past? The more deeply that you can examine this, the more you will realize that the mountain is usually just a molehill. Number two, build self-esteem. It is important to come to terms with the fact that not everyone will always embrace you in every situation. Congratulations! Take it from someone who is not always liked by everyone all the time, especially on the internet. You always have the power to embrace and validate yourself. In fact, in order for some people to really like you, you're gonna have some people who really don't like you. And that's okay. That's how the system works, how the cookie crumbles. Being your own best friend, such that you can build your self-esteem and have a deep comfort knowing that no matter what anyone else does, your worth is your worth and you know it. Dedicate yourself to something that is meaningful, a hobby, your work, like something that gives back to you. Practice self-care, feed yourself, sleep, take good care of your body, set goals for yourself that you can master on your own, that don't have to do with other people and what they want from you. Work towards accomplishing things one step, one day at a time, whether that is running a marathon or learning how to cook. Take it one piece at a time, continue to work at it. Put the focus onto yourself and you will be less concerned with what other people think about you. These habits take a while to work, but putting in the effort and sticking to it will be the biggest source of impact over time. It just makes you stronger, makes it so that rejection does not hurt so bad because you know that you've got it. Which brings me to number three, embrace vulnerability. This might sound kind of crazy as a rejection proofing tip for men, but when it comes to dealing with the fear of rejection, a certain level of acceptance is just necessary. You are going to get rejected, okay? It is as simple as that. By trying, by putting yourself out there, you're gonna get rejected. I get rejected. So every other person you have ever met has dealt with rejection. And whether it's romantic partners, job opportunities, friendships, rejection is a part of life for everyone. It means that we're trying. The key is recognizing that getting rejected has nothing to do with your worth. It is more often a reflection of the person who is rejecting you than who you are and what you bring to the table. Once you accept that rejection is inevitable, you can learn to fear it a little bit less. And then you can learn to survive it a little bit more. And that's a very, very vulnerable act. Number four, seek help. Seek help when you need it. It is not a secret that things are generally easier said than done. And even though you might be listening to this and acknowledging, yes, this all makes sense, it can be hard to put these changes into action. So please consider working with a coach, a counselor, and of course, check out my Hard As You Want system for getting bigger, badder, stronger, and more reliable erections. I built this course to address the secret reasons that men don't get hard. Sure, if you have diabetes or hypertension, that's probably related to your inability to get an erection. But what if you are a healthy, sexually active man in a relationship, or who's single and wants to get out there and date, but you cannot rely on your always be hard for you when you want it to? Maybe he's around 50% of the time. Maybe it's only when you're alone, but as soon as there's a woman in the room with you, he gets shy. Or maybe you just want to prevent that from ever happening. Or maybe you're just dealing with a lot of rejection in your life and you recognize the consequences that it is having on you physically, emotionally, mentally, and beyond. No matter what it is that you want to create, your erection is the check engine light to your well-being. And if he's not showing up anymore, you best believe that check engine light is on and you gotta do something about it. Please know that no matter where you are in life at this moment, you deserve to have a great sex life. And you deserve to feel confident in your ability to show up in bed for your partner. And you deserve to feel confident enough that you can handle rejection. In fact, that you need not even worry about being rejected, because you know that whoever is meant to be with you in your bed, falling asleep next to you at night, needs to deserve you, not the other way around. There are so many causes of erectile dysfunction that my colleagues, physicians, therapists are not addressing. Number 5, get rejected. Okay, this sounds like a lot of people's worst nightmares, but it actually works. There is nothing like a bit of exposure therapy to teach us that our biggest fears really aren't as bad as they seem. So I'm gonna give you the same assignment I've given to so many of my clients in my coaching in the past. Go out there and get rejected. Get rejected in low stakes environments because the feeling affects our nervous system less. So you can try asking a stranger if they wanna go get a pizza with you. No harm done, right? You can try asking a friend if they wanna go rob a bank together. No, I'm just kidding, don't do that. What if they say yes? Try getting rejected every single day by people who you know and people who you don't. Ask people stuff that you think that they're gonna say no to. Hey, do you wanna go spend 6 hours at the grocery store today just wandering up and down the aisles? Hey, complete stranger, do you wanna go grab a pizza when we're done checking out at the bank? Probably not. Get rejected. Once you hear no a lot, you'll know that it doesn't kill you. And then try getting rejected with women. You see a beautiful woman, go up to her, ask her out, and be ready for the no. In fact, anticipate the no. And that way, you're putting yourself out there and you're practicing getting rejected so that when it does happen, when the stakes are a little higher, you will realize that it doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't have to be a terrifying thing. It doesn't have to be the worst, most horrible thing that you can imagine and you have to spend your entire life avoiding it. I promise, go out there, get rejected, hear no from a whole variety of different people, and learn that this is a survivable part of life. It will make you happier and healthier in the long run. And check out my Hard As You Want course, whether it's this or another secret cause of erectile dysfunction that you are dealing with. I would love to help you. You get a 90-day money-back guarantee, and I personally am in the comments under every single module, answering your questions, giving you feedback, helping you get the most out of the course. It is everything that I have learned about erections and getting and staying hard, all in one really, really easy to understand system. I'm Caitlin V. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you here next week. Bye-bye.